On a gloomy morning at the old livestock auction, Emma Carter, an 11-year-old girl with her blonde hair tied back quietly, made her way through the noisy crowd. In the pocket of her frayed coat was a single silver coin. No one understood why she had come, especially when the place was filled with abandoned and worthless animals. In the farthest corner, where few people bothered to look, a skinny German shepherd lay still on a rotting board. Above it was a faded sign, $1, survival not guaranteed. The adults walked by, avoiding the dog's tired gaze. But Emma stopped. She looked deeply into those eyes, where there was sadness, resignation, and a fragile glimmer of hope that had not yet died. Emma clenched the coin in her hand. Her heart had chosen. When the auctioneer called out in a lazy voice, $1, who wants this one?" the whole market fell silent. No one moved, no one bothered to speak. The crowd began to move on to another cage, leaving the skinny dog behind, as if it were a forgotten relic. But then a small voice rang out, clear and resolute, "I will." All eyes immediately turned to Emma. A man sneered, "Is she serious? What a waste of money." A woman shook her head pityingly. But Emma stepped forward, her hand outstretched, placing her only silver coin into the auctioneer's hand. "Are you sure?" he asked, almost mockingly. Emma nodded. "I'm sure. I don't see him as trash. I see him as needing a chance." The girl bent down beside the dog and gently stroked its head. For the first time in hours, the folded ears moved. The crowd fell silent, and in that moment, hope began to awaken. In the old truck that shook over every bump, Emma sat in the back, holding the dog close to her chest, with the thin wool blanket she had brought. He lay still, breathing weakly, his eyes dull with only a faint light. She whispered all the way, "Hold on, Uncle. We're almost home." As soon as she got back to her small house in the suburbs, Emma called the family veterinarian. When Dr. Hill arrived, her eyes fell. "You know he might not make it right?" she asked, her voice soft. Emma nodded, her hand still on the dog's back. "But I can't let him die alone." The next few days were a struggle. Emma injected him with saline, fed him spoonfuls of bone broth, and cleaned his wounds. At night, she lay next to him, listening to his weak breathing, unable to fall asleep. Many people said she was making herself miserable. But for Emma, life, however fragile, was worth holding on to. And she put her whole heart into that fight. A fight not for those who give up easily. The first week passed in silence, with only the dog's weak breathing and Emma's whispers of encouragement. Every morning, she would quietly open her eyes, afraid that she would no longer see him lying there. But then, one morning, as the sunlight was filtering through the curtains, the dog moved his head slightly and let out a soft whine. Emma jumped up, tears in her eyes. "Can you hear me?" She held the skinny paw, as if she had just touched a miracle. It was the first sign, fragile but hopeful, that the dog was not giving up. In the following days, life slowly returned. He was able to lift his head for a while, then eat a few spoonfuls of thin porridge. Emma named him Bruno, meaning strong. She believed that the name would become part of the strength that would help him overcome the darkness. Dr. Hill was surprised during the follow-up visit. "This little girl does things that even adults wouldn't dare do." The doctor's words were like a pat on the back, but Emma didn't need the compliment. She just needed to see Bruno's eyes following her every move. Each wound healed. Each day Bruno stood longer, walked a little farther, and each step was a tearing away of darkness, giving way to the gentle light that Emma had lit, with love, patience, and a single coin. And, 3 months after that fateful day at the auction, the dog that was once ridiculed as useless is now running around the backyard, its shiny golden brown fur glistening in the sunlight. Bruno is no longer the silent shadow curled up under the blanket. He is now Emma's loyal, courageous, and energetic friend. Every morning, Emma wakes up early and walks around the neighborhood with Bruno. Adults who used to laugh at her now nod shyly. Children who used to whisper behind their backs now run after Bruno, giggling whenever he tilts his head in amusement. One day, Emma's teacher asked her to share Bruno's story in front of the whole school. At first, Emma was hesitant. But when she stepped onto the stage, Bruno's gaze from the audience gave her courage. Her voice was shaky but firm. "Not everyone can see the true value of a life, but if you believe even just once, you can save a small world." Emma and Bruno's story spread throughout the community. A local animal rescue organization visited and presented her with a small Hope Giver badge. When asked by a reporter why she chose Bruno, Emma simply smiled because he looked at me with eyes that said, if just one person believed he would try to live. And yes, Bruno lived. Not just lived, but lived brilliantly. In his eyes now was gratitude for the little girl with a heart bigger than a small coin. On a cool morning in early fall, Emma carefully folded the faded old paper, the $1 sign she still had from that day's auction. She reached into her coat pocket and called softly, "Bruno, let's go." The dog immediately came running, his tail wagging. Today they would return to where it all began. This month's auction was as crowded as ever. The sounds of buyers and sellers, the sound of cattle, the sound of boots on dry ground. All of it brought back to Emma the memory of the first time she saw Bruno lying motionless on the old wooden platform. As she walked in with Bruno, now strong, tall, and full of energy, the crowd erupted. Those who had laughed at her now dared not speak. Emma stopped where she had knelt. She held up the old $1 sign and shouted, "This is the price I paid. But what I got in return was a friend, trust, and hope. Never judge anyone or any life by its price." No one said anything, but all eyes were on Bruno, standing proudly beside her as a living proof. And in that moment, even the hardest hearts had to admit miracles are real if there is enough love and faith. News of Emma and Bruno's touching journey quickly spread throughout the town and far beyond. Local newspapers, small TV channels, and even major websites all carried the story of the little girl who spent just one coin to save a forgotten life. But to Emma, fame didn't matter. All she cared about was the trusting look Bruno gave her every morning, the steady click of his feet on the wooden floor, and the feeling of security that came from knowing they'd found each other when they needed each other most. One day at school, a shy boy approached Emma and asked quietly, "Why did you choose that dog when everyone else had abandoned him?" Emma smiled gently, patting Bruno's head as he sat next to her. "Because I think he still has value, and sometimes the things that are abandoned are the most precious." From there, a message spread. True value is not in the price, but in the trust and love we are willing to give.